You're listening to The Kylo Show, the podcast where we talk about how to keep your love on no matter what and why whole healthy families are going to save the world. And it starts right now.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to The Kylo Show. We are here, ready, excited.
We're starting a new series.
We are. We just finished out the Dream series, which was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, it inspired you to dream some. But we're leaning into a new series a little bit more. It's going to be a little heavier on my end because we're talking about parenting in different ways, really, family and different stuff like that. So
You should write a book.
I am, it's happening. It's happening. Just be patient, guys. It's gonna come. It's gonna come. But yeah, I mean that's Ben and I's world. We obviously have 3 kids, which I know you like to reference as your kids sometimes too.
I know.
But they're not yours. They're ours.
Yeah, kind of indirectly.
We share with you.
Yes. Our kids. I always just say, well, our kids are, they're doing amazing.
You've just grown all your children.
That's true.
I did think that when Taylor and the little ones were running around, I was like, this makes sense why Dad would say our kids. They were running from.
It's hard to tell them apart. They're just all one big group.
I didn't go out late at night to go to the big roller coaster, the Ferris wheel, and it was Tay-Tay and the little ones. I was laughing. I'm like, I'm glad you have energy for this. I'm going to bed.
Yes.
So he was being a good uncle.
This is a Disney Central.
Yeah.
He was.
He's our tour guide.
He was. He gets Disney.
Star Wars. And then Lincoln came home with a new love for Star Wars. So we've had lightsaber, not saber,
yes.
lightsaber.
Yeah.
And
a lightsaber is a light bulb that,
yeah. And Darth Vader costumes coming to our house.
Yeah. I watched one of the ones I hadn't seen.
With him, yeah. Little Grogu, which is like the baby Yoda. He's watched The Mandalorian. I mean, he is in it.
There we go.
He's in it. We've moved on from Marvel. It's not so much all those characters as much as it is Star Wars.
There we go.
Anyways, it's fun. It is fun.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk today about something that we did recently, and we just thought we'd share a little bit. It was fun. It was a fun discovery,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like me. Our kids are guinea pigs to so many things, but I feel like I was a guinea pig growing up to Love and Logic, and I'm practice child number 1. You've always said this.
Mm-hmm.
So we did this fun thing with our kids, and we did a family SWAT,
Mm-hmm.
which
Not a spanking.
not a spanking.
No. Yeah.
A family SWAT,
Yes.
which stands for your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunity, and threats.
And SWOT analysis have been
Mhm.
around for
Yes.
decades,
Mhm.
and I mean, I've done SWOT analysis with every organization I've ever worked with in or consulted with or
Mhm.
whatever. There's somewhere in there's either overt or covert SWOT analysis
Yeah.
hiding in there, just to help them discover more about what's going on with them so that they can make better decisions.
And so the idea of doing one for a family, we
Mhm.
always like to think outside the box. We did a culture creed, and we talk about what is the goal of your family. Not a lot of people are thinking like that,
Mhm.
and so this was just another expression of that.
Yep, just a tool applied in a new way.
Mm-hmm. So when we did it, again, our kids are kind of used to us sitting down, and we're gonna ask these questions. We're gonna talk through some stuff, so they know how to engage. If your kids are not used to that, I would strongly suggest that you would bring food in, and the promise of a movie afterwards. That's the best way to keep them engaged. Just there is a prize at the end of this if you participate. I'm okay with bribes. Especially younger kids, they need. I remember when we did our culture cruise, we were giving M&Ms or Skittles out to every time they answered a question or gave a word. So it's great. But we really started asking all these different questions, and we'll dive into that in just a minute. But at the end of this, Ben and I felt more confronted with in the most tender way. I mean, these kids are just answering our questions, and they're just bringing in really their observation of us leading. It's really what it was.
This is how we're experiencing you as parents.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no trying to, scold us. That's not what came from it, because again, we were listening for information.
It's a feedback session.
It really was a feedback session. And I love that our kids feel safe enough to really be honest with us with this feedback in different ways. And so it became a really powerful moment for Ben and I to kind of assess the things that we know we're doing that aren't the best habits, or it's fine. We're working on so many things. We're doing great in so many other areas.
We're gonna give ourselves a break right here.
Totally. It was full permission to be like, guys, I'm okay. It's okay, guys. It's okay.
Yeah.
But to have them display that they see those areas, and that their life has been limited in one way or another from those areas. Again, our kids are really grateful, and they were really kind. It was hard to walk away and swallow. I remember they all left. They all went upstairs to do whatever they were doing before we asked them to come downstairs. And I looked at Ben. I said, "Did that just happen?"
Did we just learn something? Yes, we
He
just
said,
learned.
"Yeah, ouch."
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, that was really." They are more in tune with our weaknesses than I thought they were. And then Ben and I were really in front of us was a question of, what are you going to do with your weaknesses?
With this really good information, which I think, kudos to you and Ben for loving truth and wanting to build bonds of trust with your kids, that where you can exchange truth. And they had really no idea that's what was happening. They were just participating in the exercise of a SWAT analysis. But what you and thriving leaders do is they create a safe place for truth. And then people can stand in the light together and make way better decisions about the future. Because you have the truth. Because most parents act like they're so fragile that the adults can't even tell each other the truth.
Right. Yeah.
The marriage can't even tell each other the truth. And now the children learn, okay, these people.
Yeah.
You can't handle the truth. It becomes a scary environment where people learn to hide in their secrets and hide in the dark and preach the light, but hide in the dark. So I work with a lot of church leader environments, and this would be one of the things that I'd be doing as well is, come on, guys. Come on, ladies. We got to get out here and we got to walk around in the light and see each other and hear each other and make a plan to build a culture we all want to live in.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that came out of it was really the kids, because we asked hard questions individually to ourselves in each category, along with having them ask themselves these questions. So for them to lean in and be willing to kind of confess the things that nobody wants to talk about, the areas that you have to grow in at 9, 12, and 16, I was loving the ability to be self-aware enough to answer that honestly. So, funny example was, I remember Lincoln talking about he needs to help more. And, we asked him to expand on that. What does help more mean? He gave a really basic answer at first. And then Adeline, I think, looked at him and goes, why don't you try a little harder?
Oh, if you're going to do this, let me push you.
Why don't you be on? Because the girls had gone first, and they had given some great responses that were, something we all are seeing. And so it was just funny to even have enough trust in the room to be called out to another level. And
the youngest child, I should help more. I should
I
should get over my reality that the world revolves around me and is here to serve me.
I love There's a guy, I can't remember his name. I follow him on Instagram, but he does these reenactments of what the oldest child would do, what
Yeah.
the middle child would do, and what the youngest child would do. And the last one was the parent-teacher conference, and oldest child, straight A's, so respectful, so responsible. The middle child was, they're always late and they always have drawings and cartoons on them, and it doesn't always make sense. I don't feel like they're fully listening to what I'm saying. And then the last child was, they sent me to the principal's office. Your child sent me to the principal's office because they said I wasn't doing a good enough job.
Yeah.
It's just like this funny perspective of the youngest child and oldest child, middle child. But it is, I think the whole point of the SWAT is bringing more and more self-awareness to our family
Mm-hmm.
and calling out, our greatnesses, encouraging each other in those truths, and partnering with, okay, what are the weaknesses that you have that are impacting us all? And that's one of the ways that we really looked at it is really what's something that all of us are being affected by this,
Mm-hmm.
that we want to grow out of. So the first one really is the strengths. That's the S. That's what the S stands for. And what is the strength of your family? Which great ways to do this is, what is the strength that I bring to this family?
Mm-hmm.
That was probably my favorite question that we asked. And when we've done this with families, that's one of the hardest ones for people to answer.
You know why?
You please tell me.
Well, I just think it's so, encouragement
Mm-hmm.
is so underused in family systems. The idea of being overtly prophetic, encouraging, edifying to one another, calling out the greatness in each other as family members it's risky because we think, oh, well, that means you don't have anything to work on. That means you think that, I don't think that. I want you to fix all this broken stuff. So I'm not going to take off the pressure by feeding you some compliments, And so the whole family having to realign themselves as soon as they start thinking about their strengths.
Yeah. It was really fun just to have them. It wasn't hard. I would say it wasn't too hard for us to answer that question because I think we've built a culture of really encouraging and loving each other and protecting that. And that's, we are edifying one another often. The please and thank yous in our house overflow, which I love. I couldn't be more
It's
thankful
amazing.
for that. Every time I come home from Taekwondo, driving my son there, he's always like, thank you. I'm like, you're welcome for taking you to the thing that I'm paying for, that you are ready for 15 minutes early before we ever have to leave. Like, okay, you're so welcome. I don't know why you're telling me thank you, but I love that you do.
Yeah.
And so this place of gratitude is easy for us to access, which I think is why it was easy for us to find some strengths. But if it's a hard place for you to lean into, a good question is really to assess, why is this hard for our family? And is it, are we not practicing encouraging one another on a regular basis?
And it might be easier to get each other calling out the strengths in each other. Because, it can be a scary thing to go, you know what I rock at in this family? Let me tell you what I rock at in this family. The youngest child will come right out with it. Everybody else will be like, oh, I'm not perfect at this, so I better not say anything. But when you say, you know what, you are really encouraging. You do encourage us probably more than any of our other family members. You get the encouragement award, and you serve. I mean, you always want to help. You always, that might get it going. Is let each other call out and remember that we actually can do it.
And I would strongly suggest that you are writing these things down. Whether someone's taking notes or something like that, because the point of a SWOT analysis is not to just do it and never look at it again. It's actually to review it a few times and see, okay, what have we actually tackled? What have we grown in? What are we still stuck on? So make sure you're doing that.
How did we use our strengths for the benefit of this unit?
Exactly. Which is great. I love the, kind of leaning into calling out in each other. That's a great place to practice for sure. And then really honoring, maybe that's something that you put on your refrigerator for a little while everyone's strengths. So it is a confidence builder. The more when I see my kids be able to call out what they're good at, and not in a place of arrogance, but in a place of confidence, it is so different in their ability when they walk in a room, or when they face struggle, or when they face uncertainties or insecurities, when they've got a storehouse of, I know who I am because I've been built up in who the Lord says I am, and I've been in an environment that reinforces that. It's easier for them to find. Doesn't mean there's not insecurities that we all have to figure out.
It's like you have, your kid can walk into any room with $100 in their pocket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. It's a great example. And then not be tempted to spend it on something that's worthless.
It's like if this is needed, I can help.
Yeah,
I have strength to add.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's great. The other one is weaknesses. What do we lack? What are some changes that we can make together? I think one of the questions, again, back to individuals, we said, what are some way I'm not showing up in this family that I want to? And I love their responses there too, because it was this display of, okay, I think this is where Lincoln said that he could help more. Adelaine's like, yes, you can. But what I loved was, we didn't answer these for them. We really had, I think part of this in having, when you're doing something like this with your kids, you have to be okay for the pauses. And that part gets really hard for parents because we just want to help feed them.
Yeah. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable.
Somebody's learning right now. Somebody's going through struggle, which is when we get ourselves in trouble and we jump in. But, I would practice more asking different questions rather than trying to feed them the answer. What do I wish I could bring to this family that I'm not doing? So what is it that you want to get better at that our family experiences from you? How do you want, so it was just fun to hear the responses of the kids. And again, it was this place of waiting. And I think they kind of were a little not sure how to answer the question. So Ben and I went first here and just kind of displayed what's in our heart to grow in.
What would you do if this is where everybody starts getting self-deprecating or shaming or what themselves, just start going, I'm stupid and this family wishes I wasn't here, and you're like, what would you do if that starts?
I think hey, this is a time for us to look at, one thing that we want to get better at. So you say you're stupid. Do you really believe that that's true, or are you having a hard time with reading? Is it reading that is scary for you, or is it math that makes you feel stupid? What do you want to do about that? How can we help you? I believe that you're not stupid. I think that this makes you feel like you're not doing great. So, does anyone else think that, Joey's stupid? Would only ask that question if you don't think anybody's going to say 100% Joey's stupid.
I call him stupid all the time.
Right. So don't ask that question if you believe that. But this is a great place for you to lean into encouragement of, I know that our kids have struggled with comparison, and I think that's what starts to happen is that one child excels in school and the other one struggles. So the other one feels less than.
And this would be a great place for the parents to lead. Like, okay, here's something I know that I'm not rocking at right now. Here's something I need to do to improve in the experience of this family.
Yep.
Is this where you got a lot of feedback about how your kids were experiencing you? So how'd that go?
Well, this was the, I think it was here. It may have been in the, it was here. The fun part was, those of you that know me, I love Highland cows, and I have them on my desktop. I have them on my phone. I mean, they're just, I have a cow fund, guys. And this is where we got the feedback of, we have dreams, and sometimes they feel like we let other things get in the way of them. And it was due around finances. And Lainey said something like that. And I said, what do you mean by that? And she goes, well, you have the cow fund and every now and then you just like take $20 out of it. And I'm thinking, I didn't think anyone was seeing that. That was my first honest response.
Busted.
Oh, okay. And out of that, it's convenient to have cash because I don't always have cash on me, but I don't make sure that I'm putting it back, and so that was that cow fund's been sitting there for a couple years, and it's because I need a fence around it that's $7,000, and then the cow itself is a couple grand, and then I need to make sure I can feed this cow.
Yeah.
So there's all these other things that she doesn't know about, but at the same time, I haven't done all the other things to get that done in the last couple of years. I was like, okay, so I said this is a priority, but my actions are communicate that it's not so much a priority.
So you're not impressing her with your commitment.
No, which was awesome to hear. I was like, awesome. And this is when it happens when I ask you to do your homework and all these other things. So again, there's just moment after moment of these little exchanges of just displaying and asking honest questions with each other. And so after that, I was like, you're right. My actions have communicated something different than what I've said. And she's like, she was so sweet. She's like, I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm like, no, I don't feel bad. This is good information because it's you're seeing it in the cow fund, but I know where it's happening other places that you're not seeing.
And this is again where the parents are leading. Like, I'm creating a safe place. I'm listening. I'm owning.
Yeah.
You can see behind my eyes, I'm planning to adjust
I'm
this.
slightly panicking.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely.
We got 2 more.
We do. Okay. So the next one is opportunities, which is where we were just talking about dreams. What are different opportunities that are in front of us? What are different things that we want to keep directing our life towards? And it wasn't just, like we talked about the 3 different categories, our desires. It was like, what are we positioning our who we are as the circles towards? Like, what do we want to see in our lifetime? What do we want to experience? So we were trying to get them to dream really big as to their legacy as they build a family. How does that flow into the circle vision of kind of how we're all wired?
What will I adjust and align to?
Our willingness to grow, our willingness to learn. I love Adeline's response always to this type of question is that we are big dreamers. Even if we haven't figured out the getting to the big dreams, she's like, I know we're big dreamers, and that's going to keep us moving in our opportunities if we keep activating that and knowing what we actually carry and how that's going to help us and all those different things. That this is what are the opportunities in front of us. And the kids go to a new school called Valor. I love it. I couldn't say enough good things about it. And
so that's an opportunity.
That's one that we talked about is that this is an opportunity for relationship, community, and really you guys learning how to feel successful in school in a way you've never felt. And it's proving to be a yes. So when we went to the retreat in January, we had done this before then, and we were thinking like, okay, we're going here, and the opportunity to make friends that are going to help this experience be even more enjoyable is before us. What are we going to do with it? So that was one that we gave an example to, which was really fun. So looking at your opportunities, breaking it down. It might be harder to do this with someone that's, under 7.
3, yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I have the opportunity to get out of this diaper.
Yeah.
That's true. Let's work on it.
Yeah. Right. The last one is threats, and really, what's the threat on our culture was kind of the big question that we put around it was, what's threatening us from being who we're called to be? What's threatening us from dreaming? What's threatening us from fulfilling those dreams? What is keeping us from, really being able to have the relationships that we want? And it was interesting to kind of look at that. And, one of the things that they had talked about is, Delaney wants to go to Europe for her senior trip, which is next year. And right now, the threat of that, it feels really uncontrollable. And so, even processing through how do we position our heart? How do we figure out, Do we keep dreaming, and feeling limited in a way that we've never experienced before?
Mhm.
And so those are just been interesting things for her to even identify as a real threat.
Mhm.
We identified a lot that fear is probably a really big threat that will keep us limited in our weakness, or keep us stuck in our weaknesses and keep us from our opportunities and really minimize our strengths that we carry. So it was fun for them to identify, and we talked about Lincoln and Taekwondo and when scared comes in and how it takes away something that he's so good at. He goes to Taekwondo and he's a little beast, guys. He
Yeah.
is awesome. And I know I'm his mom, but he really is, okay? But when he gets out there and if he builds, builds up this fear in his head, it shows up when he goes out there,
Mhm.
or it wars against him to be operating in this strength. So I
Mhm.
think fear was a big one that they identified as
A
a
threat.
threat.
Yeah.
So, all in all, this was just a big feedback session for the kids, which was super fun. And I'm glad we did it.
And you, as leaders in the house, you have really great information
Hmm.
because it's not just you and what you came up with. It's the reality that people who are sharing this experience with you are able to give you great feedback. And moving forward, you'll be making different decisions or making decisions differently than you would have
Hmm.
without all this really
Oh, yeah.
valuable information. And as much, as it certainly uh, will be more scary for families that don't feel connected, don't
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like there is a safe place, that are trying to fix the wrong problem with this tool.
Hmm.
So I would recommend that you for sure are working on your connections before you sit down and do something like this,
Mhm.
because it is going to come out. People are going to come out with frustrations and hurts and misalignments
Hmm.
that for some parents it could just be catching you blindsided if you thought this was going to be,
Hold your children accountable to their stuff.
or if you just thought it was going to be this joyful experience that,
Sure.
it's like, whoa, okay,
Yeah.
be sure that you have a high value for truth
Hmm.
and you do a good job listening
Hmm.
throughout this whole process.
So I really, the reality of family being under attack is more obvious, I think, than ever before. Is there's a threat that wants to take down families, and part of the heart of our show is really to tackle that, to confront that,
Yeah.
to give you, help and ammunition to fight against this thing that's trying to take down families, because that is completely a plan of the devil, and I don't want to see it happen on my watch.
Yeah.
I want to see you be successful. I want you to have the opportunities to feel successful. I want you to feel like you've got, strength to pull on. I want you to feel like these weaknesses don't feel like they're drowning you,
Mhm.
and you live in hopelessness. And so I think of the Life Academy Priority of Connection video, that series that Mom and I did,
Mhm.
and really some great practical examples of leaning into the connection, because this will not be helpful if you're not connected.
Mhm.
And that is the number one priority for you to really lean in and do, and for you to feel successful. And I think that would be the heart that we have for you in this, is that you the resources that we have here at Loving on Purpose, because we are doing our best to keep giving you more and more good stuff.
Mhm.
The Kylo show is free to you, and so the reality of needing donors helps us keep doing this.
Yep.
And so we want to give you the stuff that costs you something, and we want to give you the stuff that's free for you. So we keep doing that by our donors. And if you don't know how to do that, go ahead and visit the lovingonpurpose.com website, and then there's a beautiful big red button that says give, and we always love it when you do. But we want you to lean in, be connected with your family, and chase after the hard stuff so you can be great. But we're going to jump into questions next. So
Boom.
we'll see you soon.
Let's go.
All right, well, we're going to jump into our questions. And of course, if you want to give us questions, you should do that. You definitely should give us some questions. How you do that is you go to thekyloshow.com And there you can record your own question, which means we get to hear your beautiful voice, feel like we know you a little bit better. And then we play it on the show.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and take the first one, which comes to us today from Kathleen.
My question is about scripts for truthing in marriage. And how do we know if what we're doing is manipulation versus boundaries? I think I need help with a script of what to say. I've heard of some big A's in marriage. I'm not dealing with adultery or addiction. I am dealing with the A of anger and maybe emotional abandonment when I ask for help to do routine family tasks, provision, and planning. Recently in a podcast, you used a sentence in response to a similar question about anger. I heard you say, it's not my job to protect me from your anger. It's your job to protect me from your anger. I haven't spoken that one, but I could use some scripts for healthy confrontation. When I ask for help, I am met with passivity or anger from my husband. I've been married 24 years. I have 3 kids, ages 15, 7, and 6. And boundaries with children has been easier for me because I'm more aware of my power in resources and environment. I'm not sure how to construct boundaries in marriage without being manipulative. If this is a long-standing problem, how do I know when it's time to pursue a separation? And how do I avoid becoming the abandoner? I do not want to be manipulative, and I don't want to act out or separate out of a victim mentality. I really appreciate your teachings. I rewatch, re-listen, reread. I keep coming back. I really could use your help. Thanks.
Yep, that's a real
Mm-hmm.
real dilemma, especially after 20 plus years. It almost functions as an agreement that you do that and I'll do this,
Yep.
and then you'll do that and then I'll do this, and we
It's
agree.
like you play chess and the same results come out every single time.
Yeah, it's it creates a dysfunction. Like there are some needs that there isn't a functional way to get met, so you end up devising all these end arounds and manipulations to try to get those needs met, and that's what creates these patterns, and it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. So it does require that you are willing to say, I'm feeling this. I feel scared of you. I feel overpowered. I feel run over. I feel invalidated when I talk to you. The result of our conversation leaves me feeling these things. I really need to feel loved and powerful enough to get my needs met with telling the truth and letting you see me. And I feel hurt that I'm left out here by myself in so many circumstances, and I need your help.
So that script that she's asking for, it's not the same thing every single time necessarily.
Well, that might be a beginning point. That first one would be just I feel these feelings, and not I think these thoughts. I feel these feelings, and they're connected to this dysfunction in our relationship where I ask you to do something and you shut down for 3 days. And I really need to feel your partnership. I need to feel your strength. I need to feel connected. And I end up feeling abandoned and punished. Now, that's no doubt going to lead to 3 days of shutdown and that sort of thing. The next time, the next spot, maybe later that day when it's going on, say, this would be what I'm talking about right here. What's going on? I don't understand why this is your decision, but it hurts. And you can either just put the pedal to the metal and keep that going on, a couple touch points during the day, or start figuring out really how you're going to protect what's important in your life, like your peace, your joy, your self-respect. There's going to be some boundaries that this person is experiencing until they figure out what they're going to do. So I think this is where you start saying things like, I need movement on this. I called a counselor. I called your dad. I called people who are important to us. I'm going to run around the neighborhood and turn on all the lights on our life, and everyone's going to see us. They're going to see me too. I'm not able to hide either, but I'm going to turn on all the lights of our community, and we're going to be getting input because I'm asking for it. Yeah. And if you want to run away from the light, that's entirely up to you. But I'm not going to live in this dysfunction anymore.
And paying attention to the fact that there's two people that participated in where you currently are.
Absolutely.
Which means that I'm going to get feedback on my stuff.
Yep.
Because the lights are on. So we've talked about this before a little bit in different ways. Trying to have a hard conversation when there's no connection whatsoever. Would you suggest that you lean in for some kind of connection before having this initial truthing session?
Every little bit helps, especially if you know you're going in. Turn on the love language and do what you can. But the manipulative reaction, the abusive manipulative reaction, is usually around whenever you ask me to do something I don't want to do. So as soon as you feel connected, but that person is pretty used to not feeling connected so that they can act like that. So it's really hard to connect with somebody who gets away with 20 years of doing little to nothing to protect the connection. Yeah. So you may be just communicating some hard truth, and now the bad news is we don't have any light to turn on, meaning that we're isolated.
Yeah.
We are cut off from everybody. Nobody.
We don't really have a church we're going to.
We don't care if anybody sees us because nobody will look. We're lost in the forest. That's a hard situation. Hopefully that's not the situation.
Yeah. All right, Kathleen, I think you're running into a truthing session, and we'll be praying for wisdom and just clarity on how to approach that and do a good job navigating that.
And a great outcome.
Yeah. Yes, 100%. All right, our next question comes to us today from Rio.
Hi, Brittany and Danny. My name's Rio, and I have a 7-year-old daughter named River. We live in a super small studio here in Hawaii. And so I'm just trying to kind of figure out how to set healthy boundaries and give healthy consequences to my daughter when she's being super disrespectful. Lately, she's been throwing such big tantrums that I pretty much am at this place where I tried asking her hey, what's going on? I've read the Kylo book. I've read Unpunishable, Loving Your Kids on Purpose. And I've read all of them, but and I've incorporated healthy communication for a long time, for years with her. But she's just going through this kind of phase, I think, maybe, where she just is saying things like, I hate my life. I hate this day. This is a terrible day, just being very negative. I'm a super outgoing person and very positive person. So I'm not sure what's going on with her, but she doesn't want to talk to me about it. She'll cold shoulder me before she talks about it. She does not want to be vulnerable. She doesn't want to be open to me at all. So I don't know what's happening to our connection or what's going on. So I just need some language tips and just some help. So thank you. Yeah. God bless.
Well, sounds like a small environment with some not fun air to breathe.
Mm-hmm. No, I think of Addie's pretty great until she's not, and then everyone knows that she's not okay. And the early years of Addie was, if we made much room for that, she would take as much space as possible.
Totally.
And I don't know your situation, but the possibility of it happened gradually, is real. That it was smaller at first, and then it just got bigger. And as she grows, she has a different verbiage for it. I hate this and that sucks and everything's awful. Where it used to be, no, I don't wanna, or just whining. And I think that would have been Adeline had we not caught on to it and held the line earlier on with her, which is, hey, I'm not sure what's going on, and I'm sorry that you feel so frustrated about everything. I love you and I want to be around you, but I don't want to be around anyone that is no fun to be around with. So, would you like to go in the bathroom until you figured out what you're going to do, or would you like to go in your bedroom? I get that this house sounds like it's pretty tiny, so I don't know where those spots are for you. Bathroom might be a closed door. If your closet's big enough, maybe she can hang out there and color. I don't know, read her Bible, but the big thing for us was, you can do that. You can be mad and upset and frustrated, especially if you don't want to talk to me about it. If you don't want to talk to me about what's going on, you don't want to let us in to have a conversation, I'm not going to get in there. I'm not going to have access because you want to be mad. And if I keep trying to pry my way in there, most kids are going to put their heels down and really not let you in, which that is a form of damaging your connection. As much as it feels like it's a good intention,
Mm-hmm.
there's still a violation happening, which is that you will tell me, especially positive, happy-go-lucky people want you to experience what they're experiencing. It's so much better over here. I will keep crawling in there and convincing you that you should be like this because it's better. And again, that is a violating experience for this child. They need to figure out what they're going to do about their heart, their attitude. And when there's a crack and they say, I don't know, do you want help? Fine. Then you can lean in. But until there's even a crack that she wants some help to talk through this, I think I'd be careful to, push so hard. But I would be setting some boundaries of like, I'm sorry you're having a hard day. That's a bummer. I got some things to do, and I would love to be around you as soon as you're going to be fun. So do you want to take that here or there?
Mm-hmm.
I love you. And whenever you want to talk, I'm here for you.
Yeah, and the one-liners,
Mm-hmm.
she is trying to, most likely, she's just trying to suck you into her bad day, her bad moment, her bad space. And so, I hate myself. He's like, I know.
Which is
I
saying
know.
that to a parent, like, you can't say that.
I know. Oh, you hate me too. Oh, that
Probably
nice
so,
try.
yeah.
Nice try. This just kick into not trying very hard to solve this problem,
Yeah.
because this isn't really a solvable problem. This is an episode
Mm-hmm.
with a very different goal than console me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because you're so happy-go-lucky and positive energy that she knows she can punish you
Totally.
with negativity.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't see a power struggle, but this is a power struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And you may have asked her to do something that she didn't want to do. Da 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 da. The other thing I'd be paying very close attention to is this little girl's access to social media.
Mm.
The Wi-Fi code would go away today if she is unable to manage herself after being exposed to the land of the ungrateful heart. You know, that social media is just a giant armpit for the stench of an ungrateful attitude. Everyone on there is winning but you. And so you should be someone else, somewhere else, at some other time if you're going to be happy, which means you're never going to be happy.
Yeah.
So this, it's just a trap. It's a trap for children. It's a trap for adults. But I would make sure that she does not, because if she's on her phone or her iPad or her computer a bunch of the time, I'm telling you that this thing is toxic to her ability to navigate happiness.
And the crazy part is some of the little kid shows. I remember when Delaney was, we just had Addie. So Addie was about 2, Delaney was about 7-ish, 5, somewhere in there. I can't remember. I think it was those 2. But there was this one show that Lainey would watch, and the older sister was always annoyed at the younger sibling. And they were always in the way, and the younger sibling was always trying to be part of it, would make messes, would ruin things. And there was just permission in this show for the sibling to be disrespectful or rude or excluding, and it was normal. And I remember watching her behavior change towards her sister because they watched this show, and I'm like, okay, I'm done with this.
Yeah,
I am all
this
done with
is a threat.
it. And this is a little kid show, and so if you're not paying attention, they just weave it in there in different ways. And I think most shows are trying to send a different message, but it still shows up in the culture of the show. So I think paying attention to those little things is probably good.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, Rio, we will pray for you and River to have some strategy of connection and really just keep walking in that boldness of setting boundaries, because you will be so thankful for when she's 17.
Yeah.
Trust me. I am with a nearly 17-year-old, and I'm very grateful for all the work that we put in the early years. So, all right, well, we're going to go ahead and jump into our testimony. All right, well, we're going to jump into our testimony, which you can also submit a testimony to us as well. You don't have to just do a question. You can do a testimony. You do both.
Speak to the pipe.
You could. And again, that's at thekyloshow.com if you want to do a testimony or a question. But today's testimony comes to us from Jeannie.
Hi, Danny and Brittany. Thank you so much for the Kylo show. I'm binging all the episodes from the beginning. I also just finished Keep Your Love On. I am a recovering passive-aggressive communicator, and Keep Your Love On has completely changed the way I see communication in marriage. The other night, my husband did something that really just rubbed me the wrong way. And I was able to express to him how I felt and tell him what I needed from him without just letting it sit there and fester and rot like I used to. And I think that's the first time that my husband and I have ever had a conversation like that, where there was no fear or reaction involved. So I just want to say thank you guys for the work that you guys are doing. Keep going.
It's amazing how just a few adjustments make confrontations so much shorter and so much easier.
Yep.
If you find yourself in a conversation for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 2 hours, you're doing it wrong.
Oh,
this is
wrong.
This
Stop.
is such a bummer.
Stop. I heard of a conversation that went for 3 hours the other day, and I just felt bad for the person that was being talked to about the problem, because there's nothing being solved in
Mhm.
this meeting. Then this conversation is way too long. Please stop.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's so much opportunity to get reconnected quickly with those small adjustments,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of information. Ben and I mean, he was more the passive to passive aggressive communicator, and I'm still loud. My loud and direct has not gone away. The anger has gotten a lot quieter for sure, but we're both leaning into being assertive, but it still sounds different.
Mhm.
That it's still, but it feels the same. I would say we sound different when we approach it. Ben's always going to be softer than I am. I'm always more direct, but the feeling that we walk away with is still this assertive and shared values, and we really walk away with understanding and connecting
Mm-hmm.
because we've made little adjustments that make a big impact.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, protect your connection at all cost, and don't let it get so far apart that you've got this big old, lake to cross to get back to connection. Like, just stay close.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let it go too long before you have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just live with more and more disconnect, and then it's harder.
And there's a demon of fear
Mhm.
sitting on your shoulder in a disconnect,
Mm-hmm.
and so all the coaching that you're getting in a disconnect is a lie. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a full-on lie. But you are building your strategy on being lied to instead of realizing that, I feel disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
And when I feel disconnected, I listen to lies.
Mm-hmm.
I need to stop it. I need
Yeah.
to get connection back. Because as soon as you get connection back, the whole
Totally.
audio tape changes, all your self-talk changes.
That's true.
No longer do you need to figure out if you can live in an apartment by yourself and afford to,
All those
pay for
things.
childcare and
Yeah.
and what's the judge going to do at the divorce hearing, and all that goes away as soon as you
Mhm.
get your connection back. You're like, I knew you were the one I should be married to.
Yeah.
Like, how did we cover that much
extreme.
territory?
Yeah.
It's just the counselor.
Mm.
Counselor of love, or the counselor of fear.
Yeah. I mean, talking with the kids, we identify that the threat is fear
Mm-hmm.
and lies. Those would be the two big threats roaring against your connection.
Mm-hmm.
And the opportunity is for you to lean into some new tools.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be doing SWATs in your marriage. You could do SWATs in your family. You just do lots of SWOT analysis all over the place.
That's it.
And be willing to receive the feedback. That's probably
A lie swatter.
There you go.
Mm.
They'll be on sale soon.
Mm.
Just kidding. Well, again, here at the Kylo Show, we are always fighting for whole, healthy families that are going to save the world. And we're so grateful for you out there that are doing the work to make that possible. And we will see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. Never miss an episode of The Kylo Show by subscribing to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or watch us on the Loving on Purpose YouTube channel. Don't forget to submit your questions and testimonies to thekyloshow.com. The Kylo Show is produced by Ali Armerding, co-produced by Ashley Beck and Anna Hill, sound engineered and edited by Taylor Silk, and show promoter Christian Smart. Don't forget, whole healthy families gonna save the world.